Jess.
It looks like we have two Jesses in here.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, how do I have two of me?
Ramsey, how's it going, man?
Good. Just got in the car, headed to the collab. How are you guys?
Great, great. Nice to see you on here.
Yeah, thanks for doing this.
Yeah, of course.
We'd also like to learn at some point a little more about the collab. So that might be an option for a future meeting, because it's an amazing concept that you've got there, and I love it.
Awesome, man. Always happy to chat about it and bounce ideas and see if anyone else can take it and run with it even more than I have.
Cool. I didn't see you in Vegas. Were you there?
I'm actually not a Tom Ferry. I don't do Tom Ferry. I've never done a coach before. So yeah.
Cool.
Kind of dipping my toes to see what stuff's all about and see if it makes sense. But right now, all my main financial focus is on collabs and just kind of really pushing that process and that project. So.
Good. Well, it was a great group there. You know, there's so many fun people who are just killing it. And then to be able to have the breakouts and be able to have some great networking, it was well worth the time.
Yeah, I really want to get myself, I've never done Tom Ferry coaching. I've always done other coaching. I mean, it's easy to see that the people that do Tom Ferry tend to be more successful. And, you know, there's a reason behind it. I mean, you don't have to do coaching in order to be successful. But I think that for me anyway, it's always been something that was really important to have, I don't know, somebody smarter than me, somebody with a different perspective to bounce ideas off of.
And one thing that Tom talks about is the fact that if you do it right, your networking within the ecosystem will more than pay for your coaching. So he said, you know, if coaching's not free, you're not spending enough time on it because the networking is outstanding.
It's a really good point. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, Austin, we did say you were going to talk about some of your biggest takeaways.
Yeah.
I'm itching to hear it. I've got my notebook ready. So
cool. Well, it was a great trip. Vegas is not my favorite place in the world, but the experience of being with all these other agents and hearing the experts was well worth my time. So got to get some good networking in, got some good learning in. My major takeaways, I'm going to start with this. One of the breakouts was run by Jimmy Mackin. And I don't know if everybody here has heard of Curator, but Curator is a marketing service and company that is cutting edge, and they've always got their finger on the pulse of what's going on. Chris Smith and Jimmy Mackin run that and are brilliant guys. So this breakout that Jimmy hosted, he started out by talking about the fact that the number of transactions is off from its peak. We had over 6 million transactions in 2021, off a little bit in 2022, maybe 5.7 range. And then this year, we're seeing projections of under 5 million transactions in the US. And so see if anybody here can guess, when was the last time we had fewer than 5 million transactions in the US? Joe?
2012.
Okay, so you've heard this.
I have heard this, yeah.
Yeah, so 4.7 million transactions, 2012. At that point, Joe, you can't answer this. How many agents were there in the US? For reference, we have between 1.5 and 1.6 million agents in the US right now. Anybody know how many agents there were in 2012? Don't all speak at once.
I'll say 800,000.
It was 990-ish thousand agents at that point. So we had at that point 50% fewer agents at the same number of transactions. So the issue we've got here is there's less to go around for each of us. There are plenty of agents out there who are going to really struggle this year. And we need to figure out how to pick those of us around us up who need the help and want the help. And then also fight for our own living by making sure that we generate more transactions.
It's going to be a bit of Hunger Games this year almost.
Yeah, yeah, it is. But I think also it'll weed some of the people out who either aren't serious or aren't capable of growing their business in a down market.
Yeah.
So if you are struggling right now for transactions, you're not alone. There are plenty of people who are. And there were plenty of people that I talked to in Vegas who are big producers who are seeing their numbers down from previous years. So keep fighting with it. I think it's going to be worth it to sharpen our skills and work hard in this market, which leads into one of the things that Tom talked about in his opening remarks on the first day. And he asked everybody, he said, okay, guys, do you know what's working? Everybody sat there for a moment. He said, working. So working is working. You got to get at it. You got to get after it. And you got to have conversations. And not just counting conversations, but meaningful conversations. You want to have deep conversations with the people in your sphere and people outside your sphere. And that rolled into the fact that we need to have better skills in these conversations. And Phil Jones was the keynote speaker, and he also is somebody who's closely affiliated with Tom Ferry, and in large part because he respects what Tom is doing for the agent community. So he's had some opportunities to work in this business before. This was a great opportunity for him, in his eyes, to align himself with the best agents and with somebody who can lead those agents. And that's why he is developing programs for the Tom Ferry ecosystem and is super involved in all of the events. So when we think about meaningful conversations, we want to make sure that we dig deep and ask the proper questions. And he did some role playing. So he'd walk around the room. There were a couple thousand agents in the room. It was a big event, bigger than in years past. And he walked around and he asked, you know, what are the big questions you're getting right now, and how are you going to answer them? And most of the people who answered questions for Phil sounded like dumbasses. And these are really good agents. And what it drove home, and he meant it to be this way, it was a little harsh, but we're not equipped right now. Most of us are not prepared for the important conversations. We don't get paid to post on social media. We don't get paid to write contracts. We don't get paid to sort paperwork. We get paid because we are able to gain the trust of people we know and don't know. And the number one way to do that is to handle conversations properly. And he really hammered home the point that if we don't know what to say and how to drive a conversation when it's important, when we're meeting with somebody, when somebody says, hey, how's the market? Or should I wait to sell? Or any number of other questions, we're not serving ourselves very well, and we're not going to gain their confidence. So it's incredibly important to have the answers, or at least more properly, the questions to drive those conversations. There are probably 10 to 15 conversations that you can identify as ones that come up fairly regularly when you're talking to people you know or don't know. And they could be the commission conversation. What's your commission rate? It could be, should I wait for the market to crash? It could be, I don't know. Anybody else got a normal conversation that they're faced with on a regular basis?
I just got one the other day of she wants to sell her home herself. She's got an attorney, her friends did it. She feels she's got every bit of opportunity to do it.
Okay. I am not well versed in this yet, but what Phil has talked about is the fact that we need to actually write down question trees so that we know where we're going in the conversation and rehearse it with people on our team or people who we can lean on and can learn from. And if we're not versed in these question trees, we're probably going to paint ourselves into a corner or not gain the trust of the people there.
So when you say question trees, I mean, is that essentially a new version of like a rebuttal book almost, of like, if this question is asked, like, you know, this is a way that you can kind of guide the conversation by asking another question almost?
It is, to an extent. One of the things that Phil talks about is the fact that you have, he has a structure called OFQs, and it is opening, fact, and question. And after you have your first OFQ, you can just go FQ, FQ, FQ. So you want the facts to be indisputable. You want the questions to be easy to answer. So you get on a roll. And here's a great example. You call somebody who was a visitor at an open house of yours last year, and you either drop the ball, or at the time they told you, you know what, we're not gonna look because this multiple offer situation is crazy. We're gonna wait and wait till the market calms down. So today, if you called them, you would say, hi, it's Austin Eaton with Banana Real Estate, and we met at an open house last year. So that's the O, the opening, and the fact. We met at an open house last year. You can layer another fact on it that said, you said you were going to delay your purchase because the market was difficult for you. So you got opening, fact, fact. The question, you want to make it as easy to answer as possible. And that means they can't dodge the question, or at least they don't feel comfortable dodging the question. Did you ever end up moving? That's an easy one. Yes or no. Did they ever end up moving? If they say no, you can say, I remember you were looking for X. Is that still something that's interesting to you? So again, you've gone fact, I remember that this, and then the question. So you can walk them down through this tree, understanding that if you state facts, you can also go question on question on question, but it's always good to put a fact in there to let them know that you care and that you have empathy. So the context of the conversation is incredibly important. If you don't know the context of their search, you can't actually get them to where you would like the conversation to go. And one great thing that hit me in Phil Jones's presentation was the fact that he doesn't want you to give advice without knowing the context. And so he never wants you to say, you should do this. You should buy a townhome in Eden Prairie. Instead of that, what you want to do is say, because of the fact that you said X, I think you should buy a townhome in Eden Prairie in this price range. Because then you're paying attention to what their drive is, and you're really aligning with them, and you've listened to them. So that was my major takeaway from the Phil Jones presentation. He's brilliant. If you have not listened to his books or bought any of his books, there's so much good framework, but I think that it will help all of us to look at what are the 10 conversations that we face most often and are the highest consequence conversations. Don't get caught off guard. I'm working with my coach right now on developing those top 10 and then working on question trees. Now, one nice thing about the question trees is that they can actually funnel to the same questions at the end. You've got a set of questions for buyers and you've got a set of questions for sellers that are the final questions, such as if somebody says to you, hey, I don't want to pay 6% to list my house. You're trying to lead them to the question, what is your experience in working with a professional realtor? And then they can tell you from there what their experiences are, because they may never have sold a house. They may think it's easy. Their neighbor may have sold on their own and it looked easy. But if you don't understand what their reasoning is and what their experience is, then you don't have the ability to get them where you want to go. So it's about funneling to specific sets of questions at the end. Then you can go into, because of the fact that you said you have not actually sold a house in the last 25 years, it may be difficult for you to market it on your own and go down that avenue. So Phil Jones is brilliant. Question trees and asking OFQ based lines of thinking really make a ton of sense in my head.
Yeah, that definitely resonates with me as well. I like that a lot.
And then switching gears here, one of the amazing things about the Elite Retreat, which is different from the Tom Ferry Summit, which is the larger event you don't need to be a coaching member to go to. The Elite Retreat has breakouts, and these breakouts are led by top agents around the country. And so the coaches identify somebody within their coaching group who is excelling at something. And they say, we'd love to have you lead a group. And you've got the opportunity to go to one of 3 in each time period. And they go on for 45 minutes to an hour. And some of it's inspirational, some of it's tactical, some of it is marketing based. So you get your choice as to what you want to do. If you want to build a team, you may want to go to this one. If your systems are no good, you may want to go to that one. The ones that hit closest for me were a guy named Matt Farnham out of Las Vegas. He is awesome at loving on his sphere and his clients. They are all about the whole surprise and delight drive to their business. And one thing that he talked about is, most people have a choice when they're choosing an agent, when they're choosing a direction. And you've either got A or B. You've narrowed it down to 2, and then 2 of us are going to go in there and vie for that person's business. And what Matt wants to do and his team wants to do is cut out that B option so that you do such a good job for your client that they will never, ever consider anybody else. They're going to hear a radio ad or see a billboard or something like that, and it doesn't even register because there is no B. So his drive was, there is no B. If you have your clients love attention and you've wowed them, they're not going to look elsewhere. And they're actually going to tell their friends, colleagues, etc., that the experience was so over the top good that there should be no B for that person either, even if they don't know you. And so Matt talked about his client love or client satisfaction drive, but he also talked about how to launch a listing and then eliminate any issues with price reductions and all of that, because you over communicate basically on a daily basis. You let them know what you're doing. So most of us are going to look at a timetable to do a price reduction. He wants to eliminate any question at the end of that timetable what we've been doing. So if you don't communicate enough with your listing client and it's sat on the market for 3 weeks, you may end up having a difficult conversation with that client saying, we did talk about after 3 weeks, we should reduce the price. In most cases, that's going to be a difficult conversation. In this case where you have communicated on a daily basis. They know how many views you've got on Zillow. They know which marketing campaigns you've been running. They know all of the feedback on the house. They know that you've hosted a broker open. They know you've hosted this open house, that open house, promoted it on YouTube, wherever it is. Over communicate that, and you have the ability to have an easier conversation because they're not going to ask you what you've been doing. And so that was the drive in that breakout. And then the other really good breakout I thought was
awesome. That's a really interesting fact because, you know, I know I often will get to points in transactions oftentimes where I'm feeling I'm almost oversharing, like, oh, they don't need to know about that, like I'm getting it done. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm doing an exceptionally good job. They had no idea what I did though. And I think it is important sometimes to be aware of that and to understand that they should be involved in some more of that. Like, hey, you know, title found this, we were able to work it out, though it's actually not a big deal. Sometimes we just don't even tell clients because it's something that was done, it was taken care of. They thought it was an issue, it turns out not to be an issue. But sometimes sharing those struggles and what is actually truly happening behind the scenes of a transaction can go a long ways.
Agreed. And it's really stressful for a seller, particularly if they're either not getting showings or not getting offers.
Yeah.
And so they need to hear from us. And if we can set up a somewhat fire it and forget it summary on an almost daily basis for the initial time period, they're at least going to feel better about the exposure they're getting and what we're doing for them.
I've
And
always
one other piece to it that I thought was fantastic was that if you have a team, it's easier. But even if you're an individual agent, you want to try to reach out or have someone on your team reach out and not talk about the transaction at all. How you feeling? And see whether they're stressed out, see whether they're happy with what you're doing, see whether they want other questions answered. But instead of giving them a, here's what we've been doing, because you've been doing that all along, it's a separate call. How you feeling? And most of the time and that can work also with a buyer during the process. Have a different voice. If you're a one-person outfit, figure out how to have a different voice or a different mode of communication in order to do that. If you're on a team, have your client services coordinator or your director of wow, or whatever you want to call it, to call and just say, how you feeling? And he finds that makes a lot of difference. People will open up to a different approach, and they may tell you that they're really nervous and that they wish you'd be doing this or that. And it's a great way to open that up.
I love that. That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, because as we get, I believe we all try and work hard not to be transactional, but when you're in the middle of a transaction, sometimes it's hard to not be transactional with it, and bringing that human element back into it, very, very important. A great reminder.
I think that line of communication too, it helps with the possible price reduction conversation, right? Because they know what you've been doing. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I've done. But hey, it may be time to rethink where we're at instead of just going at it cold turkey.
Right.
Yeah. And I think if you've been in the business any amount of time, you've had uncomfortable conversations with clients who don't know what you've been doing. And this is a great way to head that off at the pass, get ahead of it. And if they know what you've been doing, they're going to have better confidence in at least the fact that you've got their back.
That's really good.
And so that was one of my major takeaways there. Another really good breakout was a listing launch strategy by Will Draper. And Will is a coach with Tom Ferry. He's also incidentally with Reel. He just joined this year. Brilliant guy. You should follow him on Instagram. Will Draper, Draper. Good dude. Really smart. He coaches 4 days a week with Tom Ferry. He works on his business 1 to 1.5 days a week, and he did between 30 and 40 transactions last year. So his systems are what drive his business. His time management, he's got everything time blocked down to the minute, and including drive times between appointments. And he's got the people around him who will only call him during his drive times because they know that he is working solidly during other times. So it's a bit, including his wife. She knows that if she looks at it, if she wants to call him, she looks at his calendar before she calls him. And she thought it was crazy at first, and then she's seen the business take off and their life really change because of that organization. I don't know if any of us can be that regimented, but it's out there and it is a positive. So he talked about that, but he also talked about his listing launch strategy. And it was to hit the target market in their inbox, in their mailbox, on social, and even on TV, he says. Now that's YouTube, but if you can be everywhere, you're not only going to have the confidence of your seller, you're going to be able to bring more business from that particular neighborhood because you're hitting them in a multiple of different, in multiple different fashions. If anybody would like that, the slide that he talks about that in, I can certainly send that. In fact, I'll post it in this group.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome.
And it really is just a framework. If somebody wants more detail on that, I'd be glad to share. So reach out to me after I've posted that in the group, and I can kind of flesh it out a little bit because it's really just a checklist at this point.
Yeah, we use a system called Mailbox Power. It's pretty fantastic as far as, it's a monthly subscription, but the postcards are essentially free. You just pay for postage and you can do like one-offs. So it's a very easy system to create and send postcards for, just listed, just sold, farming, all that type of stuff. So yeah. I like the mailbox stuff.
Yeah, but you also want to hit them through different modes, because some people, they toss the stuff before they even get back in the house.
Yep.
They're stopping through the garage and just going, see ya. Other people are going to open their emails. Other people are going to look at social.
People need to see your stuff at least 3 times before it really clicks, so,
Yep.
Mailbox, social, TV, that's fantastic.
Yep, no doubt.
Sign in the yard, that's always a great one too.
And then, I would recommend, first of all, if anybody is not necessarily familiar with Tom Ferry or knows who he is, but hasn't heard much of what he does, go on YouTube. The YouTube presence that he has is amazing. The library there is amazing. I know people who aren't in coaching who still feel like they get coaching through this. He also has a podcast nearly daily that you can pick up all sorts of tips and tricks from some of the best agents around the country. So a ton of value to it.
His podcast is phenomenal. I listen to, I don't, like I say, I don't coach with Tom Ferry, but that is one of the staples of podcasts that I listen to.
Same here.
It's just,
Which is
so much value.
Which is why you knew Jimmy
Yes.
Mackin's numbers.
I was like, I just heard that yesterday.
Yeah, no doubt. But he brought that up in the breakouts. So does anybody have any questions on what I may have not talked about from the summit, or about the Tom Ferry coaching program?
Austin, I have a question about the numbers. Did they do any breakdown of like the number of agents and transactions they do? I'd be interested to see how, 2012 looked. Yeah, he did do that. Okay.
Yes. So I'll have the slides and I'll try to share that with you, Carla. I don't have them yet, but I'll have them here shortly.
Okay. Yeah, I'd love to see it.
Yeah. And so he talked about the fact that a great bulk of the transactions are done by people who do 1 or 2 listings a year. And those are the people who can be exposed right now
Yeah.
because they are not as plugged into what's going on. They may not understand the newer tactics, and they're getting the listing because it's the homeowner's cousin, or, you know, lives down the street, or the people went to high school with them, whatever it is. There's a connection to this agent, and the agent isn't necessarily capable of doing the best job in a difficult market.
Right.
So that's where a lot of our business is going to be picked up. We're probably not going to steal a lot of business from the best agents in our metro. If we sit down at a kitchen table with them, if we even get there with the seller, they may well choose somebody who's more polished or more accomplished than we are. We need to get better in stages, and one of those stages will allow us to get to take some of that business from Aunt Phyllis, who was going to get the listing, and now you can prove to them that they may be leaving money on the table or causing themselves some headaches by going with that green or, you know, old school agent.
Mhm. Or Ann Phyllis just isn't renewing her license.
Correct. Yeah. So they don't know where to go. Now, I mean, if somebody doesn't know any realtors, they must not have a lot of friends. So we need to get higher on their consideration set, and we do that through a number of different channels. But that's where Tom and some of his people believe a lot of our business is going to be coming from. It's the onesie twosies who are either going to get flushed out of the business or exposed for not knowing what they should be doing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been interesting. I mean, a lot of the market predictions for this year are starting to turn around a little bit, which is good to see. It's not so much doom and gloom in the news, but, you know, this is very much be prepared. You know, it's going to be a bit interesting what is truly going to take place this year. We just, you know, there is no way to predict exactly what's going to happen. So put in the hard work, you know, as you start off with there, Austin. I think that is literally the number one thing. Is it's easy to get complacent in this business, and it's work. This is a job. This is something that we should all be taking very, very seriously, as it's our career, and it takes time and effort. Yeah.
And that again goes back to, we may have fewer opportunities this year. We got to know what to say.
Yeah. I mean, what is that? Almost double the amount of agents, something like that. Pretty close.
Yeah, I mean, it's at least 50% more agents. We're going to lose some this year. And the number of transactions is going down pretty substantially. So it's going to be a lot harder to get as many deals as we did last year, unless we become the obvious choice. There is no B.
Right. Yep. So that leads me to some great ways to get business this year.
Cool.
And I mean, all right, this is something that we all know and is wildly simple. And it is literally, it's simple. It's so simple. So I'm actually, let me see, I'm actually going to share my screen on this so you guys can all understand exactly what I am looking at. Second here. But we'll figure it out. So do you guys have my whole desktop or just this document?
It looks like mainly that document.
Cool. So this is, you know, your past client, PCSOI. This is the potential of what this could be. And this is a very easy way to break it down and should be very motivating, I believe. You know, we all don't have 100 past clients. We all don't have 100 people in our sphere, but I would beg to argue that you don't have 100 people in your sphere. Everybody's sphere is much larger than we think it is. I sent it out to everybody in my team about a week and a half or so ago of it's actually from Ninja Selling, about who to figure out who really is in your sphere and to look at it a bit differently. And our spheres are much bigger than we all think they are anyway. So this is basically breaking it down into 200 people. Approximately 10% of people will move in any given year. So that is 20 people. And being in touch with those people is wildly important. And if those people are going to move, it's also likely that they are going to sell and buy. More than likely. So that could be 40 transactions there. Take 10 of them out, say they're first-time home buyers and are just looking to buy. Maybe they're relocating out of town. So even call that 30. If you follow this plan, you should get one referral out of every 10 people that are in your database. So you've now just basically bumped that to about 60 transactions. And this is no paid lead gen. This is literally calling your people, focusing and loving on those that you already know because they likely already know, like, and trust you. And it is, in my opinion, very, very simple. It's 12 touches a year, which works out to 2,400 annual touches, which seems absolutely daunting, but it's not that bad when it's broken down. 240, 260 work days in a year, somewhere right around there, basically works out to 10 touches a day. We should be allocating a minimum of an hour a day to be reaching out to our past clients and our sphere. And I think that that's more than enough time to do it. That can be done well on your drive time. We're all out driving around different places. Austin talked about it earlier with the whole surprise and delight. I had a bunch of birthdays today. I sent out 6 video messages in the car while I was driving into the office, wishing people happy birthday. Yeah, some of them are other agents. Some of them are people that probably aren't going to ever transact with me, but I may get a referral out of them at some point. So to me, it is very important to do that one small thing. I try and do it absolutely daily. Facebook is the best CRM that there is. It shows you whose birthday it is. If you've got their phone number, send them a video happy birthday text message, and it goes so far. So 10 touches a day. What is the financial reward of that? An average sale price of $300,000, which this is a little low on a 3% commission. We're averaging that out between buy side and likely you're getting a little bit more on the sell side. Roughly 9,000, 60 PCSO. Yeah. I don't know where that math went, but somebody do that math. It's a great number. So here is a simple touch plan for this as well. It's 1 call per year, 3 texts per year. And those are just reaching out to people in your database. That is, something took place that you saw on Facebook, some life event happened with them, a reason to call. It's always great to have a reason to call. The reasons to call can be a lot easier than most people think that they are. You can literally just be touching base. I am a huge believer that when I am reaching out to my past clients in my sphere, I am not calling to talk about real estate. I am calling simply to talk to them and deepen that relationship with them. So, how are you doing? How's life? What's new? How's the home? You can definitely ask that. You are the real estate agent. You have every right in the world to ask that. Client events. We should all be doing at least 2 client events a year. 2 client events is enough, but I think it should be the minimum. The more that we can reach out to our clients, connect with them on a face-to-face personal level is always good. But client events are not about the turnout of people that show up. Client events are about the opportunity to connect with the people that are in your sphere. So this is an invitation. This is a reminder of the event. And this is a either thank you for coming or I hope you can make it to the next one. And this one is the one that often goes undone because the event happened, life moves on, you start focusing on the next shiny new penny. But this is a very, very important one to thank people that came and to tell the people that did not that you wish that they were there and you missed them. Theme for the touches, invite to attend, remind them, and then the thank you. Special dates, house anniversaries, birthdays. These are also really, really great things. Like I mentioned earlier, simply sending a video message that it's a happy birthday, sending a video message that it's a house anniversary, great. I don't think the video message is as important on that one, but I love I absolutely love the video birthday text. It is something that Jesse Peters, he's a phenomenal agent up in, where is he in? Quebec, Toronto? Where is he? Toronto. Because he's a
Nope, he's in Winnipeg.
Winnipeg. There we go. That's right. Winnipeg Jets. He's a big hockey fan. I heard him speak 2 years ago at the Real Estate Video Blueprint event. And this was something that he really pushed, the whole surprise and delight. And it is so rare that on my birthday, I don't get any video text messages from anybody. I hope I get some this year from some of these people here, but it goes a long ways. Yeah.
It is amazing how being a little different makes an impact. You know, any of us are on Facebook. When somebody puts HBD in your, it's like, come on, give me a little more than that. I mean, certainly it's nice to have somebody who recognizes that it was your birthday, but for somebody instead to send you a video that says, hey, Joe, I hope you have a fantastic day today. I hope Becca and your family have something big planned for you. We haven't seen you in a little bit, but we'd love to reconnect. But until then, have a happy birthday. There's your birthday text, and it goes over big.
Yep. I absolutely love it. They get easier, everyone that you do as well. And if you're not comfortable on video and want to be shooting more video, I would say it is the easiest way to get comfortable on camera and comfortable talking to your phone, because we all need to be doing more social. It goes a long ways. Well, I will send that out to everybody so they can have that hanging on their wall. 10 touches a day. It's not a lot. It doesn't take that much time. They can be simple. Leave a voicemail. You know, a voicemail is fine. If they don't answer, that's okay. Shoot them a video text. Shoot them a text message. Just reach out to your past clients. Reach out to your sphere. They do want to hear from you. You are all lovely people. We all have great personalities. We've made connections with people on a fairly deep level. Hopefully it didn't get too transactional, and it was a fairly deep level of them buying a home. And it's important to be in touch. Well, that's my big one for today. What do you guys
ask Joe, what is your favorite time to contact people?
I mean, my favorite time to contact people is when I have free time. Honestly, it's on the road.
When does it work?
That's my number one time to have calls with past clients in Sphere.
When?
Because it's downtime otherwise, and it's an easy way for me to make it useful. So like I say, my morning routine is when I am sitting in my driveway, warming up my vehicle or about to leave. I go onto Facebook, I look at the birthdays that there are, and I start sending video messages. Every stoplight I get to, boom, I hit record, send it out type of thing. So in the vehicle is honestly my number one time to do it. Other than that, you know, you don't want to call people during dinner. You don't want to call people during their breakfast when they're trying to get their kids out the door and that type of thing. I mean, everybody's got different schedules. So I love between 4 and 5 p.m. Phenomenal time to be in touch with people. Either their work day is ending, just about to end. But yeah, it's a good time. I personally am not a big fan of anything after 6 p.m. because then it can be intrusive. And that's never what we want to feel like.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, anywhere from 3 to 5, I think is good.
Yep.
Yeah.
And some people will be glad to talk in the mornings. So part of it is testing it and seeing what times you get better responses.
Mm-hmm.
Know your people, take lots of notes, use your CRM, those little things that you know about people. Man, when you start working with a large number of people, you can't remember everything. It's impossible. And writing that stuff down, taking the notes of it so you can reference their dog's name in another year or two. Those small details that you remember about people build that massive trust. And so much of this business is about building trust. Consistency builds trust. The fact that they know every single year, I've only been doing this for about a year of the birthday messages, but people will come to understand that they know every single year they're going to get a video birthday text from me. And I hope in some type of a way they're looking forward to that, because I hope it's unique in something different. I know it's unique in something different. I know that 98% of people are not doing that. And it is something that is memorable and will keep you top of mind.
Who else has got something that they do from a surprise and delight standpoint that they'd love to share? And don't all speak at once.
Steve here. For Three Rivers, me and Caleb, we do door drops pretty much every year. So we'll just drop something at the door, just a little gift. This year it was a candle. Last year we did just a mug with some cocoa in it. Just we usually do it in like November, between Thanksgiving and Christmas, when the market is dead. Just hey, Happy New Year. Hope everything's going well. Thinking of you from Three Rivers. And that goes over really, really well. Everybody has a Ring doorbell nowadays, so they love seeing that it's physically us doing it too. We're not like outsourcing it or putting it in the mail. You know, I'll wave at the camera sometimes, say hi, talk to them that way. So we've been doing that for the last 3 or 4 years, and we've got a lot of great response with it. It's time consuming, but gosh, is it worth it?
Yeah, I think that's a really valuable piece. We used to do pumpkin bread right before Thanksgiving, the couple days before Thanksgiving. And again, door drops. I think those are really, really important. I would love to go back to doing them. And it's something that I should put on my Chiron business plan for this year, is to actually do more pop buys and that type of thing. Yeah, I love the Ring doorbell because it's true. And you get to say something and, hey, just stop by, hope everything is well, but you don't have to have that like interaction type of thing. So yeah, which good and bad.
You can hit a lot more doors if you don't have 20-minute conversations and they invite you in to show you what they did with the bathroom.
Yes, that's always I ran into that where I was dropping it and they happened to be coming out to shovel snow. And yep, I was in the house for 20 minutes and what they were doing. So we try to just drop and leave and do it during the work hours. So to minimize that, because it gets really lengthy if you're stopping and having conversations every time.
And it can be fun to have a conversation like that every once in a while. But if you're having
Correct.
six in a day, you're not dropping too many things off.
Yeah, day's gone.
Yeah, I like the idea of it too, of maybe just having I don't want to say like a constant, but like a yearly gift, something that you have, ordered for all of your past clients, that you keep a dozen of them or so in your vehicle. And as you're out running around doing tours, running errands, that type of thing, when you are in the neighborhood of that past client, make use of that time to do it as well. And like, I love the theme idea. I was just hearing about some gal that this week she drops off chips and salsa to all of her past clients in a nice like bowl that they have made and all of this type of thing. But it's those small things that are wildly impactful.
Yeah, I've got another one that's super easy, which is whenever you are driving through a neighborhood where you sold a house, stop, take a picture of that house and text it to the person you sold it for and go, hey, was just thinking about you. The house looks great. Or if the house doesn't look great, you can still say, hey, does this house look familiar? I was thinking about you today when I drove by. And it just shows them that it's not a transactional deal. You're thinking about them. And it's super easy to do. Keep that in mind for something to do in the future.
I like that a lot. We have it on our list of things to do, to actually reach out and get a postcard in the mail to every home that I sold in the past. Essentially something along the lines of, hey, I sold this home once and I can definitely sell it again type of thing. I mean, it's, a lot of people will work with the agent they worked with previously if that agent is following up. A lot of agents are not good with that follow-up. Yeah.
Becca, can you tell us what you just did this week with the Altas?
So one thing that we do is send out past buyer Altas from the previous year. So all of our 2022 buyers, we print out the Alta for them, mail it to them with a nice letter that says, hey, we're thinking about you. You do need this for taxes and you might not have it easily accessible. So here is a copy to make taxes easier for you. And then it's just a nice way to again, end up in their mailbox. It's a touch point that lets them know that we're thinking about them, still providing service for them even after the fact. So it's a nice thing to do for all of our past clients.
I love that. That's a really simple thing to do too, is just to keep the file of that throughout the year. That's a very simple touch and very impactful. I like that.
And we also do it with the new owners of our listings. So the people who bought the listing, if we can make contact with them and just say, hey, I hope you're enjoying your new home. Thought you would like to have this. It's very useful come tax time. You may already have all of that. So you may still have all of your stuff packed in boxes. This will make it easier. And again, if their agent isn't following up, you are a professional option.
Yeah. That's really good. I mean, it's, you know, that whole piece to it goes to, there's a lot of agents out there that are primarily buyer's agents. And a lot of times when people are transacting and working on the buy side, they may feel that their agent is a buyer's agent and may not be best suited to help them sell the home. So I think there's a lot of opportunity there. I mean, I'm also very much of, I don't want to be cheesy. I don't want to be the guy that's going after somebody else's business. But, you know, I think that might be a little Hunger Games this year, as we mentioned at the beginning. Got to put our feelers out there and get what we can.
Yeah. Occasionally, you know, if the other agent is from our same brokerage or is a good friend, I'm not going to do that. But it's business.
Yep. All right. Well, awesome, guys. I've got another call I've got to jump on here shortly. We're going to wrap this up just a little bit early, but this was fantastic. We'll be back in 2 weeks. Invite some folks. See you next time.
Sounds good. And if you guys have ideas as to what we can do in future calls, we are certainly open to that. And if anybody here wants to lead a future call or at least lead a portion of it, we would love that as well.
In 2 weeks, actually, Bethany Nelson is going to come on and she's going to speak. She runs the Minnesota Real Estate Network page. She started that 6-7 years ago, something along those lines. She has a very impressive business model of how she works with her past clients and her sphere. She's going to go dive into what her calendar of events is every year, to what the budget that she has for those events, and really dive into how impactful it has been for her business. And I would recommend you guys share that with, you know, another agent, somebody that you know. It's going to be a very, very good call. She's a phenomenal agent. I absolutely adore her.
Cool. Thanks, everybody.
See you guys next time.
Thank you.